You're listening to Keith Sports News. Hey folks, happy Friday. Welcome to KSN episode 70. And I know for sure this will be a much shorter episode. I say that because when you think about it, Friday, previewing the weekend, right? Monday or Tuesday, you talk about what you saw or what you heard from the weekend. There's usually more recapping than more previewing to me. So, yeah. The last couple episodes were like 2 hours, which is crazy. I don't want this to be another 2-hour episode. I don't think it'll be even 1 hour. It might be the regular 30 to 45 minutes. I don't know. So, for those of you that really listened to all those episodes, thank you all very much. And I noticed that the views are very low. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that they're low because I think there's a lot of people that don't want to listen to a 2-hour episode, or they don't have the time. Or they rather listen to other people talk about sports instead of me. I get it. But when the episodes are shorter, they get more views. And of course, the shorts get the most views because they're short. Yeah. Anyways, welcome to KSN episode 70. First off, the shirt that I'm wearing. This is a Blue Angels, Pensacola Beach, Florida. And I wore this shirt on September the 11th. Yup. It's got the American flag on there and the planes. So, yeah. If you're wondering, where was I during that tragic day? I was a baby. I was nearly 4 months old. I was with my mother at my grandfather's house on my father's side. Yeah. And I have 3 older half-brothers. They're all a lot older than me. They were in school at the time. Yeah. You have to be, because, this happened 24 years ago, and I'm 24. So you have to be like at least 30 years old to remember 9/11. Yeah. I know someone's birthday that's on September the 11th. Not in person, but someone that I kind of follow. Paul Heyman from the WWE. His birthday is on September the 11th. Happy 60th birthday to perhaps the greatest wrestling manager of all time, Paul Heyman. And he's still active, for those of you that follow today's WWE. I don't really watch it, but I mainly listen to Busted Open. Although I'm kind of taking a slight break from listening to that podcast and the other wrestling podcasts, mainly because American football season just started, But I'll get back into it at some point. There's just so much to follow, And yeah, I've been getting back into listening to podcasts, sports talk podcasts. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, pretty much nothing but football talk. Yesterday, I decided to switch it up a bit. It was more football talk, some baseball talk, and I wanted to hear some stories on September the 11th. That's what I did. Yesterday. And also, I listened to some of the New York Yankees game on Sirius XM. Yeah, I have Sirius XM. You have to pay a subscription for that. But on Sirius XM, there are so many channels: music, podcasts, channels, live stuff, sports teams. Yeah, that was how I got into listening to John Sterling's final year last year as the Yankees play by play radio announcer. And that's why I listened to the entire World Series on radio, mainly because of him retiring. So the man who replaced John Sterling, his name is Dave Sims. Dave Sims used to be the Seattle Mariners television play-by-play announcer. So, yeah, one great, well-known voice to another. And John Sterling's partner, Susan Waldman, she's still the analyst. She's now with Dave Sims. So I was kind of listening to that game only because it was on September the 11th. I heard that I think the president of the United States was there, just like he was at the United States Open men's final. Yeah. We had a Thursday night football game, and there was no New York team in it. 2 years ago, on September the 11th, the New York Jets were playing on Monday Night Football. They had, if you remember watching that game, like I did, they had Aaron Rodgers come out with the American flag, and then not too long after the game began, he got injured. An Achilles injury, out for the rest of the season. How does that happen? And I saw a comment that says that's like the most Jets thing ever. And I guess it is. And then, yeah, this past weekend, Aaron Rodgers is now a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he faced his former team. They did that on purpose. Yeah. Okay, then. But yeah, I wish Aaron Rodgers well, because this is most likely his final season in the National Football League. All right, so I don't know how many people watch the Thursday night football game on Amazon Prime. Al Michaels is back for another season at 80 years old. Yeah, he still looks great. He's got the same voice. I wonder how many football games he's called. I think he's called the most Super Bowls too. People say that the greatest football commentary team, it's probably him and John Madden, or Pat Summerall and John Madden. Yeah, every year I watch an old Super Bowl before the next Super Bowl, and the old Super Bowl that I watched, the announcers were Pat Summerall and John Madden. And let me just say, the broadcast back then was so much better than the last Super Bowl broadcast. And both broadcasts were on Fox. Yeah. And I guess I'll say this. The old broadcast had that little Fox box score bug on the top left. I think that score bug looks better than today's score bug. I don't know. But yeah, every year I watch an old Super Bowl before the next one. I do the same thing with the Grey Cup. The Grey Cup is in about 2 months. Every year I watch an old Grey Cup. So yeah. Yeah, Al Michaels is back for Thursday Night Football, and his partner, Kirk Herbstreit, he's like the MVP of football commentary. He calls both college football and NFL Thursday night games. He travels a lot. Yeah, that means he's gonna. So the Thursday night game, I actually didn't watch it. Yeah, I actually didn't watch it. I didn't really felt like watching it, to be honest with you. Sometimes I might watch the primetime games. Sometimes I won't. This time I decided not to watch it. I didn't even watch the highlights. Um, I don't even know which team won. Guess I'll find out. Guess I'll look that up right now. Which team won? The Packers won 27-18. My father was watching it. I saw that the Packers had like all white uniforms. What is with these teams wearing all white uniforms with the white helmets? The Arizona Cardinals did that in week 1. It looks weird. The only team that should the only team that should be only able to do that is the Indianapolis Colts, because they always wear white bottoms and their helmet is always white. Yeah. Anyways, Packers, they look pretty good. What if the Super Bowl is the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Green Bay Packers? The Aaron Rodgers Bowl. Oh my gosh. Well, actually, that was a Super Bowl 14 years ago. That was one of the first Super Bowls that I remember watching. And I once rewatched that Super Bowl. It was a pretty good Super Bowl. Another Super Bowl game that was on Fox with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Now they're, the Monday Night Football announcers. All right, we might as well stay with the NFL. Okay, let's see here. It's only week 2, so I'm not going to make my predictions. Any interesting games? Week 1 was pretty interesting. All right. Let's see here. Oh, I know one interesting game, but before I get to that, I might just put on NFL Red Zone on Sunday, because there's not really a particular game that I really want to watch anyways. I just hope the Saints somehow do well, but people say that they might be the worst team. Maybe not. Maybe the New York Giants might be the worst team after their performance in week 1. My father is also a Buffalo Bills fan because he grew up in Buffalo, so that's our only hope is, can they finally win a Super Bowl? People say that they'll finally win a Super Bowl. I hope that's true. We'll find out. But man, what a way for them to come back in that Sunday night game. The Miami Dolphins, they look pretty bad in week 1. Let's see how they'll do at home against the New England Patriots. 5-tear. We got your favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers, taking on the Aints. New York Giants, they're going to be taking on their rivals, the old rivalry against the Dallas Cowboys. All right, then. Another rivalry, Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions, Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets, New England Patriots at the Miami Dolphins. Division rivalries. We got an NFC team, Seattle Seahawks, taking on AFC team Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. We got the Super Bowl rematch in week 2. The Philadelphia Eagles at the Kansas City Chiefs. That's at 3:25 p.m. Central on Fox. It's on Fox, just like the last Super Bowl with those two teams. And the one from 2 years ago. I guess I'll watch that game. It's kind of weird. They're having a Super Bowl rematch in week 2. Maybe maybe they should have done that in week 1, because I remember Super Bowl 50 back in 2016. Super Bowl 50 was the Carolina Panthers against the Denver Broncos, and they had a Super Bowl rematch in week 1 the following season, 2016, and that was the first regular season game too. It was on a Thursday night on NBC. They could have done the same thing with this Super Bowl rematch. I think that would have been better. Okay, then. The Sunday night game is the Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings. That's kind of weird that the Vikings have another prime time game. Okay, now usually Monday night has a double header, and I think they are going to have another double header. Yes. 6 p.m. Okay. Yeah, Central, ABC. Yeah, usually they would have one game on ABC at 6 p.m. and the other game would be at the usual 7:20, 7:15 p.m. game on ESPN. So the first one is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Houston Texans. I'm not sure which ESPN commentating team is going to do that, because, of course, you got Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. But the secondary team is Chris Fowler with Louis Riddick, I think. Yeah, Chris Fowler, the MVP of ESPN last weekend, was like the biggest weekend of the year for him. Calling a college football game one night, then the next afternoon he calls the U.S. Open men's final. Now it's double football for him. The second game, Los Angeles Chargers against the Vegas Raiders. Oh, that game's at 9 p.m. So they're not doing the games at the same time like they did the past couple of seasons. Okay, that's interesting. So the fans are able to watch both games. Well, I bet a lot of fans aren't going to watch that late night game though, especially for the fans that live in the in Eastern time. But I stay up late anyways, so I can watch both. But they used to do this years ago. Week 1, Monday Night Football, they would do it like what they're going to do in week 2 of this year. A game would be at 6, after 6 p.m. The second game would be after 9 p.m. But then they stopped doing it like that. They would just have one game in week 1. Week 2, there would be a 6 p.m. game, either on ABC or ESPN. I guess ESPN, because 6 p.m. is on ABC is my local news. And then at 7:15 or 7:20, the usual time for Monday Night Football would be on ABC, the second game. Yeah, meaning both games would happen at the same time for like an hour and a half or two. But this year, they're not doing it like that. They're going to have the games completely separate. Okay, then. The late night Monday night game is Chargers and Raiders. Jim Harbaugh against Pete Carroll. Interesting. Obviously, the biggest game to me is that Super Bowl rematch. But besides that, Giants Cowboys for a lot of their fans. That's a big one. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, then. See how that goes. Now we'll do college football. We're going to stay with football, and then we'll talk about the CFL. So, the schedule here. I read that College Game Day is going to be at the Georgia-Tennessee game. That's a big game. And SEC Nation, which I will watch, by the way, this Saturday morning because they're coming to my city for Louisiana State University. LSU will be taking on Florida. So we got two big games on ABC. Okay, let's see here. I usually watch the ABC games anyways. The early ABC game is Wisconsin at Alabama. I remember those two programs they faced each other last year, and it was at Wisconsin, and the game was on Fox because Wisconsin was the home team, a Big Ten team on Fox. So now that Alabama gets to host it this year, an SEC team gets to host it, that means it's on ABC. That's usually how that works. All right. And then I'm probably just gonna watch the ABC games because that's what I usually watch anyways. The SEC on ABC since I live in the Southeast region. And yeah. All right. I guess I'll give you my predictions now that I kind of have an idea on what these teams are like. So here we go. I'm not going to do all of them because that would take forever. I'm just going to do the ones at the top 25. Okay. Oregon at Northwestern. Number 4, Oregon at Northwestern. Might as well pick Oregon to win that one. Number 12, Clemson at Georgia Tech. I can kind of see Georgia Tech pulling off an upset, but it's hard to pick against Clemson, so I'm going to go with them, the number 12 ranked team. Number 13, Oklahoma at Temple. That's interesting. The game is at Temple, but Oklahoma is a pretty good team, so I got to go with them. Wisconsin at Alabama. I got to go with Alabama, number 19 ranked team. Central Michigan at number 23 Michigan. I got to go with number 23 Michigan. South Alabama at number 24 Auburn. I'm going to go with Auburn on that one. Louisiana Lafayette at number 25 Missouri. I am going to go with Missouri. Villanova at number 2 Penn State. Well, Villanova is well known in basketball, but this is not basketball, so I'm going to go with Penn State. Now here's the big matchup. Number 6 Georgia at number 15 Tennessee. That is hard to pick because it's only week 3. Let's see. I can click or tap on I'm on my phone, by the way, on a certain game, and ESPN would give their matchup predictor. Number 6 Georgia at number 15 Tennessee. It says number 6 Georgia looking to extend win streak to 9 against number 15 Tennessee in Neyland Stadium. Kirby Smart, the Georgia head coach, knows playing Tennessee matters to Georgia fans living close to the Volunteer State, even as the Bulldogs essentially have neutered the rivalry itself on the field. Wow, look at this. If you're watching, 48.5% pick Georgia. Or no, this is the matchup predictor, and 51.5% for Tennessee. It's not focusing, but oh well, that's what it says. You know what? I think that streak will come to an end. I'm going to go with the Vols to win that big game, but that's a tough pick. That's probably why College Game Day's there. Oregon State at number 21 Texas Tech. I'll go with Texas Tech. Oregon State's 0-2. Good thing it lists the team records. Number 14, Iowa State at Arkansas State. Arkansas State, they finally played against Arkansas for the first time, and they got slaughtered. I'm going to go with Iowa State. UTEP, that stands for University of Texas, El Paso, at number 7, Texas. Got to go with Arch Manning on that one. And the Longhorns. Here's an interesting matchup. Number 18, South Florida at number 5, Miami. Remember, South Florida pulled off an upset on the road at the Florida Gators, but this time they got to go to Miami. I got Miami winning this one. Ohio at number 1, Ohio State. Got to go with the defending national champions on that one. Western Michigan at number 9, Illinois. I'm going to go with Illinois on that one. Oh, here's a big matchup. Prime time. Number 16, Texas A&M at number 8, Notre Dame. Huh. That's weird. Notre Dame didn't play last week. I wonder why. That's strange. Well, I guess they're going to win. I'll pick them. That game's on Peacock. Yeah, every Notre Dame home game is on Peacock. Vanderbilt at South Carolina. Number 11, South Carolina. I'm going to pick them to win. Number 20, Utah at Wyoming. I'll go with Utah, and that's it. All right, then. You know, there's actually a way to make your picks. Yeah, they have something called College Pick'em. Yeah. If anyone's interested in doing that, I know you are, 5-Tayer, then we can try that. If not this weekend, then maybe next weekend. Yeah, they also have one for the NFL. Pigskin Pick'em. Maybe I'll do that as well. And I know that already started. I know I missed last week and the week before, but that's okay. The main thing I really look forward to is the Bowl Mania. Because I've been doing that for like the past 10 years. Bowl Mania in December, where you predict the winners of the bowl games. Yeah. All right. So, that's that. Now, stay in football for the Canadian Football League. Yes. A lot of football talk, and it's going to be like this for the rest of the year. It's going to be like this for the rest of the year. Yeah. But that's fine. It is what it is. So we got a doubleheader tonight and tomorrow in the Canadian Football League. The first one is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at the Hamilton Tiger Cats. That's going to be an interesting one. It's a must-win for the Blue Bombers. And you know what? I'm going to pick them to win for you, 5-Tayer. A big win for the Blue Bombers. And then after that is the Ottawa Red Blacks at the BC Lions, a rematch from last Friday night in Ottawa. Ottawa won last Friday night. This time they're at BC. I'm going to pick BC to get revenge on the Red Blacks. Saturday, Edmonton Elks at the Toronto Argonauts. Is this the game where Chad Kelly returns? Because I heard like a couple of weeks ago that Chad Kelly might return on September the 13th. If that's the case, I'm going to pick them to win. If he's not there, I'll probably still pick them to win, the Argonauts. And tomorrow night, big game for my favorite team. Montreal Alouettes at the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They did face each other before in Montreal, and the Roughriders, they won that game easily. I don't know what's going on with the Alouettes. They're falling apart right now. And I'm afraid they're going to get crushed again. Saskatchewan is clearly the best team. So, I gotta pick the best team. But hopefully I'm wrong somehow on that one. So there we go, my Week 14 CFL prediction. So the two teams that have a bye are the Calgary Stampeders and it's another team on the West, I think. Is it? No. Never mind. Only one team gets a bye. I forgot. Yeah, Calgary Stampeders do have a bye. All right. Man, oh man. I actually didn't. I made a Google document of the list of things that I want to talk about. I didn't do a list this week because there's not too much to talk about in this episode, which I'm kind of glad because the last couple episodes were so long. Which means the past 2 weekends were big. Now, this is another big weekend in sports as well because we are getting closer to the end of the MLB's regular season. All right? Let me see if there's any other big news that I want to share with you guys. I have a bunch of ESPN notifications from Pete Thamel. Yeah, a bunch. Pete Thamel covers college football. Sometimes I listen to his podcast with Reese Davis, the College Game Day podcast, instead of watching the actual game day show. So, yeah. So that means Kirk Herbstreit has to fly from Green Bay, Wisconsin to Neyland, Tennessee. Is he going to call that game with Chris Fowler? Because that's not a prime time game. The prime time game is Florida at LSU, even though Florida isn't ranked because they lost to South Florida. I wonder if he's going to fly to South Louisiana. He might. It's not that far of a flight from Tennessee to South Louisiana. He might. He usually does call the late night game anyways. The primetime ABC game. We'll find out. And then Chris Fowler, he'll have to. I guess he's going to call the. My guess is Chris Fowler's going to call the late night Monday night game between the Chargers and the Raiders. I think he's going to call that one because that game's not on ABC, right? It's the other game, the first game. Yeah. Yep. Those two guys are like MVPs. All right. So, I mentioned that I was listening to some of the Yankees game on Sirius XM on September the 11th. Giancarlo Stanton hit his 400th, 49th career home run to tie Jeff Bagwell and Vladimir Guerrero for 41st on MLB's all-time list. Wow. That's amazing. And Aaron Judge hit his second homer of the game, tying Joe DiMaggio for 4th place on Yankees' all-time list at 361. Wow. Yeah, sometimes I get Yankees news. Let's see. Oh, yeah. President Donald Trump did attend the Yankees game to mark the 9/11 anniversary. got some hockey news. NHL announces 5 former Hockey Canada players who were found not guilty of sexual assault charges can return on December the 1st. Wow. Well, I assume TSN was covering that. I didn't watch SportsCenter tonight on TSN. I would usually do after the primetime NFL game, but since I didn't watch that game, I didn't watch TSN. Plus, I have other things that I want to do anyways. But I'll always watch it on Sunday nights and Monday nights after, them breaking down, the National Football League, mainly Sports Center with Jay Onrait, and of course Scott Van Pelt. So speaking of hockey, we are going to get NHL players in next year's Winter Olympics, so that'll be great. The only unfortunate thing is Alexander Ovechkin cannot be in it because he's Russian. So, yeah, that's very unfortunate for him. And I think this is going to be his last season in the NHL. He made his debut, I think, 20 years ago. Yeah, and I think he's 40. So yeah, he'll go down as one of the all-time greats. All right. So yeah, a lot of football. Once again, it's going to be like this, a lot of football on the weekends for the next couple of months, or really until the end of the year. But wait until we get to October, because October is going to be a big month. CFL, NFL, college football, the WNBA playoffs. Yeah, that's in October, I believe. The beginning of the NBA and NHL's regular season, and most importantly, the MLB postseason. Oh my gosh. We got all that going on in October. That's insane. Halloween month? Yeah. Crazy. That's going to be hard to cover all that stuff, unless if you watch 4 things at once, which I normally don't do that. I usually watch 2, sometimes 3, but 4, that's very rare for me. And I don't have YouTube TV anymore, so that's a thing. All right. So, let's check the MLB standings again. The last day of the regular season is on Sunday, September 28th, so in about 2 weeks. I heard that the Yankees have to play the Red Sox in Boston, a 3-game series. That's going to be a Sunday night game. All right. Yeah, there was no Sunday night baseball last weekend, and the main reason why was because of the big Sunday night NFL game. Yeah. So, I might if I excuse me. Actually, wait, never mind. I just thought of something. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, Yankees have to go to Boston. 3-game series against the Red Sox. And I think that'll determine the wild card seeding. I think it will. That is a very important series. All right, let's check the standings again, because this is what I need to do until the regular season comes to an end. A lot can still change in 2 weeks, especially if a team goes on a crazy winning streak or a team goes on a crazy losing streak. American League East, the Toronto Blue Jays are still in first place. 84 wins, 62 losses. Yankees are 3 games behind. Red Sox are 3.5 games behind. So remember, those two teams, Yankees and Red Sox, will face each other in a 3-game series in Boston. That'll determine, most likely, who will get the wild card seeding. American League Central, the Detroit Tigers are in first place. Most likely they'll stay in first place with 84 wins and 63 losses. The American League West, Seattle Mariners and the Houston Astros are tied. 79 wins and 68 losses. Do these two teams meet before the regular season comes to an end? They do. Next weekend in Houston, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The 19th, 20th, and 21st. Oh, and they're going to face Sunday Night Baseball on the 21st. Wow. Because that's important. All right, well, that'll determine which team will win the American League West. The Texas Rangers, they may not make it. I mean, they might have a chance. They have to keep winning their games, and they have to hope both the Mariners and the Astros lose a bunch of their games. That's asking too much. They're 77 and 70, 2 games behind. To the National League, the Philadelphia Phillies are in first place with 87 wins and 60 losses. Most likely they're going to win that division. I don't know what the heck happened to the New York Mets. They're 11 games behind. Yeah. What if they don't make the postseason? They should, though, I think. The Central, Milwaukee Brewers are in first place with 89 wins, 58 losses, followed by the Chicago Cubs. 5.5 games behind. 5 Tayer's favorite team. The Brewers, they still have the most wins. Yeah, they do. The Phillies are in second with, And then the National League West, the LA Dodgers are in first place with 82 wins and 64 losses, followed by the San Diego Padres. They're 2.5 games behind. Chicago White Sox, 57 wins, 90 losses. Colorado Rockies, 40 wins, 107 losses. Wow. Okay. Streaks. The Seattle Mariners, they won 6 games in a row. That's how they caught up to the Astros. Texas Rangers, they won 4 games in a row. The Phillies have won 4 games in a row. The Mets lost 6 in a row? Wow. That's crazy. Dodgers have won 4 in a row. So as of right now, the wild card teams in the American League are, because 12 teams, they make the postseason, 6 from each league. So the 3 teams, the 3 wild card teams are Yankees, Red Sox, and the loser, the second place team in the West, either the Mariners or the Astros. In the National League, the 3 wild card teams are going to be the Cubs, the Padres, and the third team is either going to be the Mets or somehow the San Francisco Giants and the Arizona Diamondbacks. So a lot can still change. Or even the Cincinnati Reds. I do want to see the Mets in the postseason. Yeah, man, the MLB is unpredictable, just like the CFL. And guess what? It's 1 a.m. Friday. Normally, I would be starting the recording at 1 a.m. or after 1 a.m. So I'm done. Thankfully, this episode is much shorter. So enjoy another interesting weekend in sports. I'll either be back on Monday or Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday. Maybe I should wait until after the Monday night games and just recap everything on Tuesday, if I want to. Maybe. So yeah, see you next time. Have a great weekend, folks. Thank you for listening to Keith Sports News.